when tying a change in price competitiveness to a change in X minus M. And finally, a change in AD versus a change in balance of trade. Because X minus M is a person with dual passports, dual nationality. It can either park itself under AD or it can park itself under balance of trade. Two passports, okay? So when you're linking the change in price com to this one, PED is not required. When you're tying to this one, PED is required. You all know that, huh? In one case, you need PED. In the other case, you don't need, Demonstrate, okay? So if let's say my inflation rate rises relative to other countries. So let's say today our inflation rises relative to other countries. Maybe we impose foreign worker levy, okay? If it rises relative to other countries, export price competitiveness drops. Agree? Which is a very fanciful way of saying our exports are more expensive. So our export sales drop. X falls. Therefore, AD falls. Of course, you can also say consumption falls because we buy more imports. Okay, but I just want to demonstrate the PED part. Here, same thing, same trigger. If inflation rises relative to other countries, export price competitiveness falls, assuming PDX exceeds 1, quantity demanded falls more than proportionately to the rise in price. This is unique. Of course, you can go on to talk about M. Here you can talk about C on domestic goods. But I just want to draw emphasis to the first part. You need PED versus you don't need PED. Ah, very good. When you talk about Marshall-Lerner condition, you see, price competitiveness changes because of two things, this and this, right? What happens with Marshall-Lerner is that MLC assumes this, PDX plus PEDM exceeds 1, right? So the concept of PED, why it starts with a P is because the price has to change in the first place. Then you can invoke that PED concept. If there is a change in inflation just in my country, if my inflation rises relative to other countries, okay, my import prices don't change there. So you see, PIQ is affected by inflation, is affected by exchange rates. Here, no MLC because import prices stay the same, do not change. MLC is like, sometimes they will say, using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Okay, MLC is that butcher's knife because it carries both PEDX and PEDM. If you're just talking about inflation, in your country, the price of imports from China, from India, from Malaysia don't change. So we don't need PEDM. That's why we only have PEDX. Only PEDX assumptions are relevant. Okay? But the moment you talk about exchange rate is the gateway through which you interact with the rest of the world. So the moment exchange rates change, MLC is applicable because both PM and PX change. So that's the when to use MLC. But of course, if you're tying to AD, you don't need MLC also. It's only when you apply to BOT, then you have MLC. Do you know why? One case you need MLC or elasticity, the other case you don't need. But do you recognize this is how they did it in school? Yeah, you go and look through the notes, say, hey, how come? Well, it's because AD, if you look at your AD and AS diagram, what is on the x-axis? AD downward sloping. X-axis is what? This is GPL, right? Then in macro terms, it's also supposed to represent quantity, but it is real, right? Real GDP, or sometimes real output or real national income. What does real mean? Real means you ignore effects of price change. Because you ignore the effects, straight away you just know people buy less. You don't even care about the change in price. Since you ignore the effects of price change, you don't need elasticity. That is the reason. So for BOT, we need elasticities because BOT is nominal terms, it's not real terms. Okay.